love the title, Mama Bear Apologetics.
When I saw women starting to get involved, it was because they were answering questions that they saw their children being threatened with a lot of things. And they did stuff that it's like, they wouldn't do it for their own faith, but they would do it for their child's. And I was like, wow, that's an instinct. And I think if we can name it, women will be drawn to it and realize this is another avenue of protection, because women want to protect their children. I'd say women protect, not just moms. Even if you don't have kids, you still have this mama bear instinct a lot of times.
Right, that instinct.
I actually don't have children.
Oh, you don't have children?
I don't have children. Right. So, and when I kind of had this idea, it was like a whole week of just sleepless nights, and I'm like writing all these ideas of how to get women involved, and specifically moms. And I thought the Lord was going to have me go commission somebody to do it. Right. I was like, who is it? I'll do it, Lord. And then I felt like he kind of revealed to me that, no, I'm calling you to this because you have something that moms don't have, which is time to research.
And you stepped into it. What was that like for you to step into doing that?
I think it was kind of like, fire in my bones that I was weary of holding in. I could not do it. I stepped in with the knowledge of, if I only ever reach 5 women, I'm still going to do this because I have to, not because I want to, not because I want to have this big platform. I find that if you're faithful doing what the Lord has called you to do, he can decide how successful he wants it to be. I think me stepping into it is just like anybody stepping into the specific thing God called them to do. You let him take care of the results, but you do what he's called you to do. So much of what we're intended to know about God is known through the context of family.
Yes.
And how you have that healthy family life, you will have a much healthier view of who God is. I think we are meant to understand God through the family and having that
within that context.
Yeah, having that healthy family upbringing and just doing things together. Sometimes we think God wants to do, like he's just constantly in work mode, but being with the family and playing a stupid game, that's where the memories are made.
Just thinking about this topic of apologetics. There can be a much more academic conversation.
Yes.
Or there can be a much more emotional conversation. Yes. And we need to know which one we're in.
Yeah. This is something that I think women really bring to apologetics, in the sense that apologetics has been this kind of discrete, here's all the facts, here's, evidences for the resurrection, evidences for truth, philosophical. But if we want to think of apologetics in terms of you're breaking down whatever is the barrier that the person has between them and God. And that barrier is not always going to be facts. Like you were saying, that barrier can sometimes be an emotional thing. It can sometimes be a relational thing. And to where you can actually start, the facts actually will start conforming to what I believe is true based on what I've experienced. And so I think sometimes the best apologetics conversation you can have is grieving with somebody. When I have conversations around what sin is, I would say a lot of times sin can be people trying to meet a legitimate need in an illegitimate way. And when you try to meet a legitimate need in an illegitimate way, it does create that barrier between you and God, because sin separates you from God.
How did your parents talk to you about their faith? And how did they get you to a place where you're grounded in a way that you're saying, I'd give my life for this?
A very different relationship between me and my mom and me and my dad. I think,
which is common.
Yeah, it's very common. Yeah. My dad and I are very much more alike, that we're both thinkers. We ask a lot of questions, and he fostered that in me. I think he saw that I like to think about things. I ask all the questions, and he never treated that as if that was me trying to rebel. So I think Christianity was always this conversation that we were able to have. My mom, Christianity was something that we did. But it became something more, and it became something more to her and I right around the same time.
That's great.
And so then we started being able to have this conversation about how does Christianity interact with all these different things in our lives, all those little data points. And it was really beautiful to see that. I think we kind of almost matured at the same pace at that point.
So you were more the analytical type.
Yes,
very much. What was your mom like?
I kind of classified people as thinkers, feelers, and doers. And so I know that and everybody has a combination of those three, and it's usually going to be a hierarchy. And it's kind of, and she is very much a doer. and secondarily probably a feeler and then a thinker.
So a leader-ish type that is very, very task-focused?
Very task-focused, yeah.
Okay.
But I just wanted to sit and think about things. But she wanted more doing.
Both of you guys were task-focused, but in different ways.
Yeah, I guess in different ways. I think
Yeah.
my dad and we interacted on the ideological realm of how do these ideas all play out. And we still do that. Christianity, I think it was something that it was this foundational truth. And there's something beautiful about that it was a foundational truth that everything that we did, we compared it, and I think because I was such a thinker, they didn't have to impose a lot of that on me. I was the one that was asking the questions, but they embraced that. And especially my dad embraced that. And because who I was and the way I interacted with God was embraced, I think because of that now I don't depart from it, because it allowed everything that God had put in me to interact with Christianity instead of it just being this ad hoc thing that we put on top of what we do.
It sounds like your dad showed you attentiveness.
Yeah.
And that's important in conversation.
He really saw me. I remember even from a little girl, he was patient. He saw me for who I was. And I think a lot of times, because moms just have a lot more of the tasks of making sure that basically these kids don't kill themselves, that they are
feeding themselves, they have laundry,
being fed, the laundry, that they get to the gymnastics programs. And it's like, I think of all the things my mom did, that she was always at every one of my gymnastics things. She was always, when I was a cheerleader, she was at every one of the games. She was present. Mm-hmm. And I would say that, that presence to me.
Present in the home.
It was present in the home.
In your activities and things.
And then the way they interacted with each other. And I remember seeing my parents have a relationship that's different than my friends' parents. And I would, even in as early as middle school, I would say, what makes y'all's relationship different? Because I could tell it was different. And she always said the same thing. You act loving when you don't feel loving. And that comes from a doer mindset right
That's
there.
That's
but
great.
At the same time, that is one of the things where she was disciplining her actions to be based on what she knew to be true.
And I think that's key for us as parents when we're thinking apologetics and thinking about big topics we're talking with our kids.
Yeah.
Are we entering it with a humble heart and just saying, hey, I want to listen to you. Do we validate our kids? I think that's an important place to go with our kids as we're thinking about these ongoing conversations around this faith in Jesus, that we're not above anyone else. My
mom really showed me what beautiful submission looked like, because it's not like she didn't have her own thoughts. She had plenty of her own thoughts.
Yeah, leaders are very opinionated.
Yeah, but I saw the way she interacted with my dad, that she very much said, that he's the boss. And at the same time, I saw my dad show what it looks like to lead well, that he was constantly looking out for our needs.
What a great model for you.
It was so great. Yeah. What that taught me was what a leader should look like, that the leader is constantly looking for the way to make the people that are underneath them able to flourish in that role. If it was within his means and he thought it would benefit us, he would try to move heaven and earth to make it happen. And then I saw the way my mom, even when she disagreed with him, she wouldn't, because she respected him, but he earned that respect. That's another aspect of submitting to God that you see. God is there for my benefit. If it's something that will benefit me, I look at all my prayers of wanting boys to like me. He never answered any of them, not a single one.
How did that go? What did you pray?
The Lord, make me popular, make me that, and it's kind of beautiful. It wasn't until the prayer that I prayed my freshman year in high school where I said, God, I don't see myself like yearning after you. It's like, I want you, but I want to want you more. Like I heard other people talking about this burning yearning that they had for the Lord. And I knew I didn't have that. I didn't want to disobey, but I didn't have this desire for him. And when I prayed that, it's like, who says to God, I don't really want you, but I want to want you. That was an honest prayer. And I had cultivated the habit of honesty in my prayers all growing up. And once I started praying things according to his will, I saw him answer those, just like my earthly father would get me things if it was for my benefit and if it was within his means. I saw the Lord start answering my prayers when it was for something that would actually benefit me and would actually glorify him.
You were actually showing passion by wanting to learn more about him. So you were showing that, but then you're wanting more of that inner
I wanted
fire
the experience.
inside, right?
Yeah, it's like that I saw, and maybe that's, being around other girls where they talk about, I'm in love with God. I'm like, I don't know what that means.
That fire of wanting to be pursuing a relationship, that close emotional relationship with God, along with the intellectual side. I love that.
Yeah.
And as we think about our thinker kids, or kids that are more analytic, let's help unlock those for them, right?
Sometimes I
make
get the
them
feeling
feel
like
bad
there's not a place for them in church.
Yeah.
And that makes me really, really sad. It's like we have a lot of feelers trying to do feeling kind of ministry, or a lot of doers that are doing ministry. But a lot of times in churches, the intellectuals, the thinkers, they don't really have anywhere to go.
Right.
And so that's why you even see the Church of Secular Humanism. There was one that was in Arlington, Texas, where I think sometimes we've lost some of these people, and they find that community around atheists, and that's so sad. What you're trying to look for, you can find. And so it was interesting, even being an adult in some of the classes where I was with women who grew up kind of like in the 60s and 70s and the heydays of feminism, where they were taught to see men talking down to them. But the confidence that my dad instilled in me, I never looked for that. I always assumed the guys were there to protect me. There is a kind of confidence, I think, of how you expect to be treated.
Yeah. I think it sounds like you and your dad took the time to have that back and forth, going into his thoughts, your thoughts, and he was curious about yours, and that helped you feel confident that, hey, my thoughts matter.
Yeah.
I should share them. And if people don't like my thoughts, okay. But I want to share them, because that is a part of the conversation. I share my thoughts. I listen to your thoughts.
You're establishing almost a norm. What should the norm be? What is a normal interaction with people? And that does affect your confidence of, if your norm is that my thoughts matter to somebody, that becomes your norm. If your norm is, I need to be quiet and seen rather than heard, you bring that into all your interactions with people later. That unprogramming of whatever you have in your family of origin can sometimes, people have a lot that they have to overcome.
What would you tell the mama bears out there, or the papa bears, on how to enter confidently into the conversation that's so important around apologetics, around faith?
A lot of times parents are wanting to have a book that'll take them through something, or a curriculum that'll take them through something. I think if you educate yourself, and this is kind of what Mama Bear Apologetics does, if you educate yourself on the ideas that are out there, and especially the ones that are at odds with Christianity, you don't need a curriculum. You don't need you don't need a book that tells you what questions to ask. Just pay attention to what's happening in culture and ask your kids, what do you think about that? What do you think they mean by that? And just asking your kids, what have your friends said? What do your friends say about this? What do you think about that? What do you think about that commercial that just came on? And just take the time to be intentional. It's
that
like
curiosity we were talking
the
about.
curiosity. Really, the world becomes your curriculum at that point, and you don't have to add all this extra stuff. You don't have to have some big plan. You just kind of go through life listening and questioning and saying, what do you think about that? And it teaches them to kind of sift through everything they hear and not just accept things because an authority said so. I always say, it's like, you don't want to train your kids to accept things just because my parents said so, my pastor said so, because what you're training them to do at that point is you swallow anything an authority says. And once they get out from underneath your house and they have other authorities, do you want them swallowing blindly everything that authority says? No, you don't. And so just kind of training them to stop and listen. What did that mean? Do we agree with that? Is that what the Bible says?
Right now we're being sold to social media, all kinds of media, selling something. And what is it that we buy in our soul? Right
there, to me, I think is the crux of, if we were to invest one thing into our kids, what could it be? And maybe this is because it comes naturally for me. How much do you value truth?
Yes.
Because that is going to affect how you see everything else.
What do you trust?
And what do you trust?
Because that's huge. Whatever you trust
yes.
is going to have so much penetration into your soul.
Yeah. Even how to ask the right questions can be one of the most empowering things that you can do. Because sometimes I know that, like, I get terrified when I need something, we'll say like for home improvement stuff. I'm like, I don't even know what to Google to ask for what kind of person to come in and fix this. If you can at least give me the right questions for what to Google, okay, now I can go find the person. So just teaching your kids to ask the right questions and how to ask questions and inviting their questions. You do not need to be an expert in anything. to invite questions.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Hillary. And I think that the other part to this is pray, pray, pray.
Yes.
Pray for your kids, pray for guidance, pray for wisdom. It's all going to be imperfect, but the more you are aligned in that conversation with your Heavenly Father, the better you're going to be able to drive the conversations that are there for you every day. If you enjoyed what you heard, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you leave some comments. I love to hear from you. I want some questions so we can dialogue back and forth. This is a conversation with you. See you again soon.